Every year, people are saying the same thing. Integrated shield plans are getting too expensive. But what if I told you the problem isn't the cost? It's what we expect when we buy one. Because deep down, we are not paying for treatments. We are paying for something far more emotional. Speed, certainty, and control. And that expectation is exactly why costs keep rising. So in this video, I will be covering 3 things. Number 1, I will share with you why is the ISP's premiums getting higher and higher, what's actually causing it. Number 2, why the health minister started coming out to do TikTok videos, as well as podcasters like the Financial Coconuts, doing and talking about MediShield Life, IPs, and riders. And also the hidden message that no one is actually addressing or talking about that. We will go through that today. And thirdly, and finally, how do we actually choose and manage our coverage smartly so that we do not lose our peace of mind for the premiums that we are actually paying for? So stick to the end as I also share with you one key mindset that shifted my thinking right after becoming a dad. So the premiums for our integrated shield plans have been increasing over the years, and it's no wonder people go, "What? You're increasing the price again? Insurance is too expensive. I'm going to cancel all of these policies. It's just too crazy." Okay, anyways, before you do anything rash, let's just take a step back and zoom out and understand what is the whole situation. Firstly, I want to ask you whether the hospitalization plan that you're paying for is the only thing in your life that is actually increasing in cost. What about your food, your transport? You name it, you have it, right? I've been hearing and I'm also not very satisfied with that cost of living is increasing. So, in other words, it's not just our medical insurance, it's across the board. Everything is increasing in price. Of course, let's not forget that there are still people who are abusing the system, which, we should do something about them. But they're the one that is overclaiming, staying over for extra nights in the hospital when it's not necessary to. And these are what's driving the cost for everyone. And the other policyholders are the one that's suffering from this. So in the midst of trying to not let you pay so much and not getting the best use of your money, Mr. Ong and the content is basically trying to emphasize again and again that if you're okay with the coverage that the MediShield is giving, by the way, it's a mandatory hospitalization plan for every single individual, Singaporeans and PR. So with that, it entitles you to a ward of B2 to C, and it covers up to 200k of claim limits. So these claim limits have a lot of clause. Some allows you to use up to a certain amount of cash value. Some has no restrictions. So you got to check that out. But the key idea is that a lot of the bills that you pay, in fact, I think one of the advertisement I saw along the way of the MRT is to say that 9 out of 10 of the hospitalization bills are actually highly subsidized. So in other words, for you to hit the 200k claim limit, I'm not so sure, but things starts going down the rabbit hole because end of the day, people are kind of like matching basic coverage and their lifestyle expectations, and that is when things starts to go wrong. So the question then comes down again to why, with so many commentary talking about the integrated shield plans, the premiums are getting higher and higher, the total cost you have to do is over the moon. Right, with all of these negative connotations, why are people, young people especially, right, they are buying more into private hospitalization plans? Is it because they wanted to have more coverage? Is it because they want to have a better recuperation environment? It could be those, but the biggest reason is actually speed. So imagine if you're in pain right now, would you rather wait for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, even months to schedule an appointment with a public hospital's doctor? Then, after that consultation, you need to wait for another 2 weeks or so for your treatment to take place. Or would you rather find a doctor as soon as possible and get that pain out of the way? I don't know about you, but the time difference in terms of the waiting and the scheduling is going to have a lot of impact for your health. Imagine somebody who is in pain and it turns out that they have some early stage symptoms. But because of the scheduling delays and rescheduling of the treatments, the early stage cancer could have evolved into a late stage cancer. And by then, the chances of survival or recovery is much lower. And I can't tell you how this urgency became magnified after I became a father. So tell you the truth, if it's not me, my wife will have even much expanded urgency. And after the day, why would you want your kid to suffer? They didn't choose to be born. The least you could do as a parent is to provide and ease their pain as soon as possible, right? With that in mind, I can tell you that urgency to get themselves treated is so crucial. And that's where, coming back again, speed is the key thing. Now, if my son ever falls ill, touch wood. This is wood, by the way. But anyways, right, Whatever the case, right, I would definitely want my son to be treated as soon as possible. Let's not forget that the pressure from the mummies, right, is going to be much more intense, right? They'll be saying like, 1 week, are you crazy? 1 month? What is this? What are we doing here? Right? It should be done now already. It should be done now already. In fact, now it's too late. It should be done yesterday.
Wait, what?
There's this saying, you can have many or even a million problems until you have a health problem. By then, you only have one problem. Which is why the government decided to have a mandatory basic hospitalization plan for every citizen. And when somebody we love, and I mean truly love, right, is really in pain, right? You won't care about what cause, you won't care about the policy, what underwriting, whatever not. What you care now is to get the person to the best medical care as soon as possible. And that comes down to speed. And that is why people are going for private hospital plans. It's not about getting a fancy room. Actually, it is a bit lah. But the key thing is that peace of mind that you have. Now, buying a private hospital plan isn't cheap. If you were to buy it from 0 years old to 100 years old, it can cost you close to 400,000. Can you imagine what you can do with a portion of it? In fact, I even quoted somebody in the 70s, a private hospital plan, and together with the riders and whatnot, it can cost up to $10,000 a year. And that is the cost of peace of mind at that age. But does it mean that once you sit in a first class flight, you have to always sit in the first class flight? Not necessary, right? You can actually downgrade to business class, or just like me, a commoner, we just take the economy. So similarly, same as your private hospital plans, once it's starting to not make sense for your lifestyle because the premiums are getting too out of whack, then the sound choice would then be downgrading into a lower one. But whatever it is, whether you choose private A, B1, B2, C, it really doesn't matter because end of the day, Singapore's medical standard is still one of the top in the whole world. Only difference, speed and comfort. So whatever it is, I'm not asking you to upgrade to a private plan. I'm also not asking you to downgrade because end of the day, this is your choice. It's a policy that you have gotten for yourself. So if you are somebody that prioritizes speed and comfort, then maybe going for a higher tier coverage or a higher plan is better for you. But before you even commit to it, let's use the HIP, which is the Health Insurance Planner that is created by the CPF board for you to understand and budget before you commit anything. So find out how much of your MediSave is actually being used, as well as how much cash top up do you have to do. And it also allows you to compare between different policies, different providers to see the amount of premiums you have to pay from a private plan to maybe a public A plan or even to a B1 plan, right? So you can use that as your comparison choice as a start. So planning for your health insurance is just one thing. How about number 2, which is more crucial? And I want you to focus on this because end of the day, your body, your healthy, able body, right, is what is going to last you a long time. In fact, Health Hub in 2022, they did a study to find out what is the top 10 reasons why people in Singapore are going to the hospital. And in this top 10 list, a majority of them are illnesses that can be prevented or even controlled with a good managed lifestyle. Eating healthily, working out, and that is how a person can actually prevent themselves from getting things like diabetes, the top 10 killers in Singapore, by the way. So if we can prevent this disease earlier, there wouldn't be a need for us to use hospitalization for these purposes. And if everyone in a collective effort does this, stay healthy, which is why there's Healthy 365, there's a lot of initiative by the government and even by certain insurance companies to motivate you to lead a better and healthier life, then the need for insurance is actually much lower. And if the need for insurance payout is much lower, everyone, the policy holders, all benefit because there wouldn't be a need to increase the prices of your hospitalization coverage. At the end of the day, buying insurance is buying an option to choose what you want and what you don't want to have. It ranges from person to person, and sometimes once we know what we are paying for, it really changes how we feel about it. So if you find a lot of value in this video, please like, subscribe, and also share this with more people, especially those that you know have been complaining about insurance. Maybe this video will help them. Alright, my name is Jiaxuan. I will see you again. Bye-bye.
Change the game, empower your life, build your dreams, financial freedom, we're your team.